Let's go. Yo. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast. And that's facts.
How we doing, Chicago? Welcome to the Chicago Sports Podcast. I'm Michael Totis. I will be your host tonight with some more Bears news, rumors, this time surrounding Ryan Poles. But before I get into it, hit the like button, hit the comment down below what you guys think about Ryan Poles and the new bombshell that kind of came out today from Dan Wieder. And that's where we will start off. Dan Wieder is a Chicago Sports Tribune writer for the Bears beat reporter. He's also on 670 The Score. Big guy in the Chicago game, and he really dropped the bombshell this morning at about 7 a.m. And really, I was just questioning whether Ryan Poles will stay. If you go back, it's been exactly 2 weeks. If you guys can believe that, it's been 2 weeks since the Bears made the historic decision to finally fire head coach Matt Eberflus mid-season. That was 2 Fridays ago, Black Friday, and every day since. I don't know about you guys, it's getting a little tiring with every single day a new Bears news rumor surrounding this head coach thing, and now Ryan Poles. It's kind of bleeding into, and it doesn't help the team on the field is also playing some pretty bad football as they get set to take on the Vikings this Monday night. Getting back to it, it's Dan Wieder in his article said, what will happen at Hallis Hall if this painful Bears losing skid ticks up to 8 games, 9, 10, even 11 to end the year on a big losing streak and only end with 4 wins? Is Ryan Poles' job security truly as strong as Bears president and CEO Kevin Warren emphasized last week? And if it is, why should it be? Why should it be? And if you go back to the press conference they had right after firing Eberflus on that Friday, they made it Kevin Warren emphasized Ryan Poles will be back next year. He will be the Bears GM. He will have a hand in this head coaching search, and he will be back. He will do another draft class, another free agent cycle. He'll have another opportunity to fix it. And now this one from Dan Wieder, it's kind of questioning whether Ryan Poles will actually be back in Chicago next year. And it really surrounds his decision with Matt Eberflus. I think it's come out now that a lot of people thought at first that Eberflus was forced onto Ryan Poles. He didn't have a choice. He didn't have a choice with head coach. They wanted Eberflus. He had to take Eberflus. That's not the case. That is not the case. Matt Eberflus was Ryan Poles' guy from the beginning, and it's pretty damning. You go to the article with Dan Wiederman talking about Eberflus' time when he was still with the Colts, and he said that really the Colts were going to fire him. They were going to fire Matt Eberflus, and multiple sources around the league told the Tribune that they were set to fire him, and he would have had to seek a position coach somewhere else in the league, not a head coach. He'd have been looking for a defensive coordinator job. And one league source told the Tribune, when you talk about trying to find the next hot guy, such an important time for your franchise, the Bears should have been asking themselves, who else really wants Eberflus? He was red flagged to fail immediately. And that kind of goes back to now when you go back to the press conference they had post firing Eberflus. People kind of noticed Ryan Poles' demeanor in that interview wasn't very jolly. He didn't look like someone that was very happy. I know maybe he just had to fire a really good friend of his. Maybe that's kind of why. But I also think maybe something behind the scenes is that Kevin Warren's taking this search over. He's taking control more than he ever has. And Ryan Poles' leash is getting cut short. And it's led people to wonder, will Ryan Poles just straight up quit? Will he just straight up quit after this season? And should he quit? Should he stay? It's going to be a big debate. Obviously, a lot of football still left to be played. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing for the Bears, we'll have to see how they continue to improve, if really at all. But I'm going to be an advocate for, really, I don't think Poles should stay. And I really think that if he shouldn't have stayed and he's going to pout about not making the right choice as head coach, he had his choice. He had his chance. He had his choice. And not only did he choose Eberflus once, he chose him twice. He could have fired him after this past season where I wanted him gone, and he didn't. He could have hired Harbaugh, who's doing really good in Los Angeles, doing really good. He's got the Chargers in what looks like a playoff spot in the AFC, which has become very competitive. He could have also hired some other guys. He didn't. He stuck out with Eberflus, even in a season where he didn't really win a big game. They all came against losing teams. and still really couldn't beat the NFC North. He had the one Lions win. He beat Josh Dobbs on the road. That's really it. That's all he had over 3 years. He won 2 NFC North games. It's pretty pathetic. Eberflus was not the guy, and I think it goes a little bit deeper than just his decision at head coach because it was a big one. It was a big one, and you risk setting back Caleb Williams' development with repeating the same cycle. You did it with Mitch, John Fox, and the Nagy. You did it with Field, Nagy, and Eberflus. And now you're going to do it with Caleb again, presumably. Well, now you have to do it with Caleb again, going from Eberflus to an unknown entity at this point. And I think it goes a little bit beyond just his head coach search. Like I said, he hasn't really been doing too much. Like, obviously, the one really good thing he did, the number 1 pick trade. But I think you could also look at that as that's pretty lucky. He didn't make that trade knowing they were going to get the number 1 pick from Carolina. He probably made the pick assuming Carolina wasn't going to be very good, which I think was a very safe assumption at that point. But I think this should raise serious doubts for what his job security should look like in the future for this team because he hasn't been doing too much. Like, look at the draft classes. Like, Brisker's an injury concern. He hasn't played in 2 months. Tyreek Stevenson's a head case. I mean, Zach Pickens is nothing. I mean, Odunze looks good, right? You could say Odunze looks good. I think Darnell Wright's been playing good over the past month, really, since Thomas Brown's taken over. Braxton Jones was a good find, but it's nothing too special. There's not some really good talent on this team that he's really drafted. Like, you can't look too far into this and say, like, yeah, they got a stud there. Maybe Caleb Williams, but everyone knew you were going to take Caleb Williams. Like, that's not a huge well done. And the one thing that he emphasized was the trenches. He was a former O-lineman himself, and I don't think this guy can judge O-line talent, right? Like, Kieran isn't ready. He's a developmental guy, and why should we trust that the Bears are going to develop him? I mean, if we're looking at Matt Eberflus's record and how bad it was, and that's why he got fired. He's the losingest coach in Bears history by win percentage. Some should be looking at the Bears GM. Like, this is a team that lacks true talent. Like, if you look at their blue chip talent guys, you have Jalen Johnson, DJ Moore. Yeah. Maybe Montez Sweat. Montez Sweat, I think, could join that conversation. But other than that, there's no blue chip talent. He didn't draft any of those guys. Johnson was a pace guy. Moore was in the trade, and Sweat was a trade, I guess. But Sweat was already good. Like, you were trading for a good player. He hasn't added blue chip talent through the draft. And that's a big concern if you want to stay as GM as the Chicago Bears, because this is a team that needs talent. They need a winner. They need talent on their team to win. Poles hasn't delivered that. He's delivered a lot of disappointment. Tyreek Stevenson's probably on his way out. But again, the most damning thing is his head coach decision. This is the most coveted job in the NFL. It will be in this offseason. There's no way you can say a head coach would rather go to the Saints or the Jaguars, probably, presumably they fire Peter. Actually, I think they did. But again, maybe the Cowboys, if they fire McCarthy, but Jones has been backing him. Maybe the Bengals, if they fire Zach Taylor. I think they should, but I don't think they will. It's going to be the Bears. They're going to be in the most important hire in probably the history of this franchise at head coach. Do you really want the guy that not only backed Matt Eberflus once, a guy that was going to get fired from Indianapolis, to hire as a head coach? No one else wanted him. No one else wanted him. There's no competition. He didn't back him once. He backed him twice in this past offseason. Do you really want that guy to run the search again? I don't think so. I don't think so. And I don't think Poles is going to like that. And it could eventually lead a collision course with him and Kevin Warren and leads to Poles resigning. It would be a really tough time to look for another GM as well. But you look at what the Bears have. They're going to have 3 top 40 picks. They're going to have a top 10 pick in this draft. They might not win another game the rest of the year. They'll have a top 10 first round pick, 2 in the top 10 in the second round. I think any GM can come in and fix this a lot better than Poles has and add better talent. But that's all there is from me on Ryan Poles and the bombshell drop by Dan Wieder today. Hope you guys have a good night. Be sure to tune in to the live stream. It'll be live here at 8:30 talking about this as well. Do not miss those guys. And as always, like, comment, subscribe for more from the monsters of the Madhouse on the Chicago Sports Podcast. I'm Michael Totis. Have a good night.